Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another end of the week Sabbath class. I'm your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And as always, it's an honor, it's a privilege to come before you each and every week to give you another uplifting and edifying lesson. And this week is no different. So we appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in as always. But before we get started, we want to remember to always give all honor, glory, praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being his son, who the world calls Christ in the Paleo Hebrew. And through his strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be uplifted and edified in the spirit. So once again, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you tuning in as always. And like we do every week, we want to remember to do what? Pray for our nation of people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. We got to pray for our brothers and sisters. Times are getting harder. You know, prices going up, people getting laid off left and right. You know what I'm saying? New laws and rules are being put in place to help hinder the building of our nation. You know, things are just getting worse all the way around. So we got to remember to pray for our brothers and sisters. You know, a lot of us are losing loved ones. A lot of us are dealing with heaviness and confusion of the heart or the mind. You know, we don't know which way to turn or how to move. You know, things are just getting out of control in these last days, so to speak. But as repentant Israelites, we as a nation of people must remember to pray for our nation of people and pray for each other and pray that the Lord stays with us constantly and helps us to endure through all these ups and downs in life, trials and tribulations that we go through as a people. So, as always, continue to push forward. Pray for your nation of people. Most important, to keep these commandments and have the faith in Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So, last time we did a class, the brother Ezekiel did a mighty class going into the end times. And on that class, it was a question asked by one of the viewers. And the question was, how do the curses apply to the so-called Native American Indians or the Hispanics? And we're going to get into that. And that's what today's class is going to be dealing with. Part one. Just to give you a heads up, it's going to be a two-part series. Today's class is going to be dealing with the so-called Native American Indians. So today's class is going to be called, How Do the Native American Indians Fit the Curses? How do the Native American Indians fit the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28? And that's what we're going to go into today. And who would the Native Americans be today? They would be the Reubenites, or our brothers and sisters from the tribe of Reuben, or from the tribe of Gad, the Gadites, you know. And like I said, today's class, that's what we're going to be going into and diving into. How do the curses fit the Native Americans? And we're going to dive into it. But one of the things I want to state is that a lot of people will ask these questions because they don't believe that our brothers and sisters actually are our brothers and sisters to begin with. And being in this truth and having an understanding, it's our job to bring forth strong reasoning, to edify our brothers and sisters, to teach them the things that they do not, and where they lack faith or understanding, it's our job to give them clarity. So that's what we're going to do pertaining to what the Bible speaks of. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up with 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. And this is key when doing any type of research or whenever you speaking or debating on anything. You must speak with the facts. And that's what we aim to do here today, brothers and sisters. All right. So we're going to go to the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. And it reads, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So we make a bold statement, claim, just like a lot of our brothers and sisters who teach this truth, that the Native Americans are our brothers and sisters. They are part of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, you might look at them and you might say, I don't know about that. They don't go through the same things that we go through. They don't look like us. But on contrary, my friend, we're going to find out, and we're going to look into a lot of different areas, and we're going to line it up and see, do the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 actually line up with the Israelites or with the Native American Indians? All right. So from there, I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 41 right quick. Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 21. Because a lot of people will make assumptions or make statements and say those are not our brothers and sisters, but they have no reason, no factual. Did I go to the right chapter? Isaiah 41 and 21. All right. You know what? All right. Verse 21, it says, produce your cause, saith the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasoning, saith the King of Jacob. So when bringing out this truth, once again, brothers and sisters, we got to prove our thing. We got to bring forth strong reasoning, because that's a hell of a claim to make, to say that a group of people are part of the Israelites. You know, it's hard enough trying to get the so-called black man to understand that he's an Israelite, let alone to say that the Native American or the Hispanic man is an Israelite as well. So when we do these things to try to break down and prove to our brothers and sisters, we got to come with strong reasoning. All right. And that's what we're going to aim to do. So from there, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Because the question was, how do the curses of Deuteronomy line up with the Native Americans and Hispanics? All right, let's read that. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So understand that, brothers and sisters, that Deuteronomy is speaking to a nation of people, not a color, but to a nation of people, saying if we did not keep the commandments, that we would have to endure these curses, and they would be upon us forever, and they would overtake us. You know, you got a whole list of curses from Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, all the way to 68. All the way to 68. All right. And what are these curses here for? Or what are the curses put upon our people for? Disobedience to the commandments of the Most High. So we had to be punished. We had to catch a judgment. All right. Matter of fact, let me put this other document on the screen if it'll work. Let's see. Doesn't look like it want to work. Bear with me. All right. So got a list of criteria that we're going to go through just to prove, even though this list is simple, it consists of about 7 different areas that we're going to go through. But it's proven to you how the Native Americans fit the curses. All right. So let's go to number 2. It says they would endure a loss of land and identity. So did that just happen to the so-called black man? To the so-called Hispanic man? No, it also happened to the Native American. All right. As you can see on this screen, let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Going into Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63 and 4, it says, and ye shall be plucked from the land whither thou goest to possess it, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, and there thou shalt serve other gods. All right. It said Native Americans were violently removed from their lands by European colonizers. During events like the Trail of Tears, many tribes were scattered across reservations and forcibly converted to Christianity or Catholicism, fulfilling the curse of the worshiping gods their forefathers never knew. You see that that's one thing that we all know about, but I'm gonna show you that through a video right quick. Bear with me. You know what? Before I get to that, I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49, right quick. Deuteronomy. Where is it? All right. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49 and 50. I need to go there right quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. All right. Now, keep in mind, when we read verse 15, it said that the curse would be applied to the nation of Israel. Not a color, not one individual, not just one group of people, but a whole nation of people. We will have these curses put upon us for our disobedience as a nation of people. All right. So this is one of the promises that the Lord said that he would do to us as a nation for breaking his commandments. Verse 49, Deuteronomy 28, 49, it says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. So the Lord will send a nation against us. Now, he did that several times throughout the scriptures when you read it, sending other nations against us. But in particular, we're going to show a video clip from a movie that was produced a couple of years back that actually shows this, and it aligns with history and what's written in history books to show you that the Bible is a true book. All right. So give me a second. Let me put that on the screen. And this was from a movie called Apocalypto. And this was one of the final scenes in that movie. All right. When the Spaniards came over, the Europeans came over to this side of the earth when our people were already over here. All right. And I'm going to show you what was going on. Now, in this scene, the brother was running from his own brothers. They were trying to put him to death. But he was trying to escape as well as trying to save his family. And this is what they ran into at the end of the movie. You see that? This was that enemy that the Lord was speaking about in Deuteronomy 28:49. How he would send the enemy against us from far. This was the so-called Spaniard or the white man coming with his Christianity, as you can see on the screen right there. Coming from afar, coming to take us captive. Now, this movie was made by Mel Gibson back in the, I won't say late 90s, early 2000s. So obviously the screenplay or whoever wrote this movie actually did research to understand what was really going on. It's not that pilgrim story that we all are familiar with when it comes down to Thanksgiving. You know, this is actually biblical history right here that you see on the screen. Check out how they were mesmerized. They ain't never seen these type people before. Coming with the Christianity. They already been conquered and dominated on the east side of the world. Now they're on the western side, exploring, bringing a madness and wickedness and evil with them to enslave our brothers and sisters who have already been on this side of the earth. Now, you might be thinking, well, how did they get over here? Or how do we know that they were over here? How did the white man know that they were over here? That's written in the scriptures as well. Let's go to it. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra right quick. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. Give me a minute. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. We're going to start at verse 40, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Now, this is going into prophecy or history that was written in the book of 2nd Ezra, which is in the Apocrypha, which is why they take that information. They have taken that out of the Bible to hide this history and these facts from us because they can't explain it. They can't get around it. All right. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, talking about Christ, saying, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king whom Salmanasseh, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So 10 tribes were carried captive, which would be the northern kingdom, out of their land, taken captive into Assyria. All right. Into Assyria. So northern kingdom, they were taken into captivity first. Southern kingdom, which will consist of Benjamin, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, were considered to be the southern kingdom. But the other tribes, as you can see behind me, hold on. As I got on my banner right here, you got Ephraim, that's northern kingdom, Simeon, Reuben, Manasseh, Asher. You got Gad, Zebulun, Issachar, Naphtali. Those would all be considered the northern kingdom. All right. Now, if you wanted to read about how it became two different kingdoms, you had to go to 2nd Chronicles or to the Chronicles, but we're not going to go there right now due to trying to get through this class and try to line up everything to show our brothers and sisters how the curses line up to the Native American Indians. All right, so going back, I'll show you that these are the 10 tribes who were carried captive to the land of Assyria. All right, reading on verse 41. But they took counsel among themselves, meaning they got together and started plotting and planning, strategizing, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen. The same folks that took them captive, they were planning on how to escape. All right. That they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Now, one of the things that you will hear from brothers and sisters when speaking about Northern Kingdom or the lost tribes, so to speak, they will say things like they were going to dwell in Africa, northern part of Africa. But when you look back through history, man was already dwelling in that land. So when the scriptures say that the 10 tribes would take counsel and come up with a plan to go live where never mankind dwelt, that will have to be on the other side of the earth. And we're going to read on it to figure that out. Verse 42, it says that they might dwell, that they might there, meaning this new land, keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Now you got to think about this. Why is it that they got forcibly removed from their land? It's because they failed to keep the commandments. That's why the curses came out against us as a people. All right. That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. This is talking about the ocean. Think about that. Till they were passed over. How you know it's the ocean? Let's keep reading. For through that country, there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. In the same region is called Arsareth. You see that? And the word Arsareth means new land. All right. But it says that it took them over a year and a half to get to where they were going. So it's 10 tribes, that's millions of people trying to get across this water to a new land. Think about that. It would not take you a year and a half to get from Israel to the top of Africa or the bottom of Africa, or even over there into Russia. It wouldn't take you a year and a half to do that. Understand it. All right. Reading on, it says, verse 46, then dwelt they there until the latter time. So that means they still dwell in them. It said that they would dwell in that new land that never mankind dwelt, and they would be there in the latter times. And now when they shall begin to come. You see that? So northern kingdom would be on this side of the earth. They would be over here first in a land where never mankind dwelt. Why do you think, or how do you think that Christopher Columbus or the Spaniard even knew why or how to get over here? Think about it, because he read our books. He read our history. I should have had this pulled up already. I'm going to ask the computer right quick. He knew about it because he was reading the same book that we read. He read our history. Trying to find it right quick. But one thing I will put on the screen, let me see if I can get it on there. Said Christopher Columbus did not know about the people in the New World before his 1492 voyage. He was attempting to reach the East Indies by sailing west, and upon landing in the Caribbean, mistakenly believed he had arrived in Asia. The indigenous population he encountered were not known to Europeans prior to this expedition. Columbus and his crew were the first European to make contact with these people. All right. The term Indians, because he believed he had reached the Indies, he called the inhabitants Indians. So understand this too, brothers and sisters. Native American Indians, that's a term that was put on us by our oppressors. They never called themselves Indians, even though they wear that term today, or the indigenous or the aboriginal. That term Indian was put on us by our oppressors. Columbus, gave that term to the people that he ran into first when he came over here thinking that he had reached the Indies. So that name came from the oppressor. Just like Negroes, niggers, coloreds, Hispanics, Latinos, all these names come from our oppressors. And that's part of the curse that you can read about in Deuteronomy 28. All right. Let me see. It's a movie called 1492. And it's a scene in that movie where they asking Columbus, how do you know that it's something over there? And he speaks about 2nd Ezra chapter 13. He speaks about what we are reading right here. How it would be another people on that side of the earth, knowing there was more land over there. All right. But going back to these curses, go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. Still don't want to show. All right. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. But we were talking about when we were reading on this sheet how they would be in a loss of land and identity. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. This is one of the curses. It says, and it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. So we already read that in 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and 40, stating that the 10 tribes would be taken captive and led into the land of Assyria. All right, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Even wood and stone. So you see that this is something that is known, or that the so-called Native Americans are known for, serving other guys. And in that movie that we showed earlier, that clip, Apocalypto, in the beginning of that movie, that is one of the things that they were doing. They were actually lining up people and cutting their hearts out and offering it to a sun god. Idolatry, serving other guys. And even today, what are they doing? They serving Christianity and Catholicism. That's what we read also. Now, how do we know that the people that are over on this side of the world, before the title Indian was given to them, how do we know that they are the people? Let's go and look at some of the literature or the history that was written by the oppressor before we were able to even read as a people. All right. Let me show you this right quick. All right. This book right here is called the Youth Instructors and Guardians. This book was written in 1826. 1826. Matter of fact, let me scroll up right quick. It was a book that was photocopied from 1826. All right. Bear with me. I just want to show you the title, then I'm gonna skip down to the page I want to get to. All right, this is showing you that it was written in. It shows you when it was written, 1826. We were still in captivity at this time. So this is Edomites writing this information to themselves. All right. Once again, a book called The Youth Instructor and Guardian for 1826. All right, we're going to jump down to page 420. I'm going to go up to 22, I believe. Yeah, 422. I'm going to read the highlighted info. It said the American Indians have many traditions corresponding with sacred history, which can hardly be accounted for unless on the suspicion that their fathers were once acquainted with the inspired volume. They not only have traditions like many of the heathen of the general deluge, but retain some obscure ideas of numerous other facts mentioned in the scriptures. So it's saying, talking about the American Indian, that they have a lot of ways that it came from the scriptures. Said they believe that the man was created from the earth and that the woman was formed from part of the man. Going back to the Adam and Eve story. All right. Scrolling on down. It says they have a tradition that a great while since they had a common father, and this father had 12 sons in allusion, doubtless to the 12 tribes of Jacob. They tell us that their ancestors had a once sanctified rod which budded in the night's time, like the rod of Aaron. They believe that the Great Spirit is very ancient times, meaning the ancient of days, talking about the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, often held. Let me see. Take that off. All right. They believe that the Great Spirit is very ancient times and often held, councils and smoked with their fathers and gave them laws to be observed. But that in consequence of their disobedience, he withdrew from them and abandoned them to the vexation of the bad spirit, talking about Satan. All right. Scrolling down, it said these traditionary accounts, to which I have in my power to add others, are very remarkable and clearly indicate that the ancestors of the Indians must at some period have been acquainted with the sacred history of the Old Testament. So just going back to when the Northern Kingdom actually went across the sea, that actually happened in 533 BC. 533 BC. That's over 500 years before Christ even hit the scene. Think about that. Over 500 years before Christ hit the scene, they were already on the other side of the earth. Majority, not all, majority. All right, let's read on. Page 424. It says, their sense of dependence of the Great Spirit leads them very frequently to pray to him. Every morning, our missionaries among the Osages, we hear them on all sides around us to a great distance from their camp, engaged in various earnest prayer to God, their creator. You see it? The Indians believe in the existence of angels and demons, and that the demons have a chief over them who is more wicked than the rest. Talking about Satan. All right. They believe they are themselves the beloved people of the Great Spirit, as the ancient Israelites did, that they were peculiar, chosen people of God. You see that? Unbelievable. So this is in a book. This is history that was written in a book from 1826, showing you that your enemies, the ones who are in control right now, who wrote this book, know exactly who we are. They know exactly who we are. And their main objective is to keep us dumbed down, confused, separated, divided at all costs, so that we do not rise back up as a people. Because like the brother Ezekiel be bringing out quite a bit, the one thing that we need, or that J. Edgar Hoover said about the greatest threat to the U.S. would be our people uniting, or Negroes uniting. All right. So one of the things that they would do would keep us divided. Understand that. We as a people, we don't understand these things, though. We go off of what we are told or what we have heard without doing any type of research. We just assume. And as the saying goes, when you assume, you make an ass out of yourself. Excuse my language, but hey, it is what it is. you know. So it said that we would lose our land, or they would lose their land. All right. Let me add this onto the screen as well. I'll show you this. Where I wanted to go next. Where is it? All right. So as we were going over how they would lose their land and their identity, let's go into how they would lose their land. All right.
What was the Native American Removal Act? What is the historical context in which it occurred? What impact did it have on future generations?
What are we talking about? The Indian Removal Act that the president put in place back then, Andrew Jackson, put in place to remove our brothers and sisters from the land, to put them on reservations. The same way that they are doing our Hispanic or Latino, so-called Latino or Hispanic brothers and sisters today. They removing them and shipping them out to FEMA camps, to Alligator Alcatraz. They shipping them to camps and prisons all around the world right now. But understand what's going on. What happens shall happen and will be done again. Paraphrasing greatly.
All these questions and more will be addressed in this video. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for additional content. The Native American Removal Act, passed by the United States Congress in 1830, was aimed at the relocation of indigenous peoples from southeastern parts of the country to lands west of the Mississippi River. The act was a response to the growing number of settlers who sought to expand into the lands occupied by Native Americans. The act authorized the U.S. president to negotiate treaties with tribes in the southeast to trade their lands for lands in the west. The relocation process, known as the Trail of Tears, resulted in the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans.
Notice how they use the term just relocation. Nah, it wasn't just relocation. They was putting them to death. That's why they call it Trail of Tears. It ain't just them walking and being mad and pissed off. Nah, they were being put to death. They didn't just give up their land because somebody signed a piece of paper. They went to war over there. Understand that, brothers and sisters. The enemy is very crafty with words that he uses.
Many of whom died from exposure, disease, and starvation. That caused widespread suffering and loss of life among the indigenous populations.
Now, what you see right there is just a reenactment. People just taking a tour, walking down there. That's not exactly what it looked like when it was going on.
Who were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands and required to make a difficult journey to the west. The relocation process was brutal, with many Native Americans losing their homes, possessions, and loved ones along the way. The impact of the Native American Removal Act was long-lasting and far-reaching. The loss of land and resources caused widespread poverty and unemployment among Native American communities.
Now, one thing that you might be asking yourself while you're watching this clip, why do they got so many different colors? Why are they so light? Why they ain't dark like the rest of them? Well, that's one thing you'll find out as well when you read the scriptures and understand. You'll understand that Northern Kingdom. Well, let's just go get it. Let's go to the book of Hosea right quick. Let's go to the book of Hosea, and we're going to go to chapter 7. Hosea chapter 7. Bear with me. Keep in mind, we talking about Trail of Tears, or the Indian Removal Act. But I just wanted to show you in probably 2-3 scriptures how and why our people have so many different skin tones. All right. And this is also another reason why we don't teach off of skin tone. All right. Come on. All right. Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 8. It says, Ephraim have mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. So think about that as well. A cake not turned. Let's see if we can get an image on that. See that? A cake not turned. Look at that example right there with the pancake. You either gonna leave it on without flipping it, it's gonna get darker, or you flip it and it's light. What the Lord was talking about. Cake not turned, many colors. All right. Let's get another one. Let's go to Jeremiah right quick. Jeremiah chapter 12 and 9. And it reads, Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. This is the Lord talking about his people. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble, all the beasts of the field come to devour. You see that? I'll start at 8. Mine heritage is unto me as a lion in the forest. It crieth out against me, therefore have I hated it. My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. A speckled bird. Let's see what that look like. See that? All these different colors. Unique looking. The Lord was saying about his people. All types of shades, colors, a unique look. Keep that in mind. So when looking at that video I was just showing you, you looking at people who are light brights, dark skin, you're asking yourself, why is it that they look like that? The Lord told us that they had mixed themselves. Leave them alone.
And may lost touch with their cultural traditions and history.
They lost touch. Let me rewind a little bit.
And resources has widespread poverty and unemployment among Native American communities, and may lost touch with their cultural traditions and history. The act is widely considered one of the most inhumane actions taken by the U.S. government against its indigenous peoples and is remembered as a dark chapter in American history.
You see that? That happened to us as well as them. But we as a people, we don't understand it. We can't fathom it. We don't understand it. All right. But when you read the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 33, it tells you that we were oppressed together. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33, it tells you that. Matter of fact, I'm going to go there. I ain't going to put it on the screen. I'm going to just read it. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33, and it reads, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel, meaning northern kingdom, and the children of Judah, southern kingdom, were oppressed together. We still are oppressed together even today. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. You see that? They refused to let us go. Think about that. They refused to let us go. But I'm going to go back and play this video.
In recent years, there have been efforts to acknowledge the wrongs of the past and to improve the lives of Native Americans. Many tribes have been able to reclaim their ancestral lands, and there have been efforts to improve education and economic opportunities for Native American communities. Despite these efforts, the legacy of the Native American Removal Act continues to be felt by Native American communities today. Thank you for.
You see that? It's still being felt to this day, just like the things that we went through as a people. It's still being felt today. All right. Now, like I was explaining to you earlier, we would be oppressed together, but our brothers and sisters were already on this side of the earth prior to us coming over here. Southern Kingdom, I put it that way. Northern Kingdom was already over here. But because we were breaking the commandments, the Lord would send the enemy against us from the land, from a far land, because we kept breaking the commandments. All right. So I'm gonna play this video because it goes hand in hand with what we just watched concerning the Indian Removal Act. And this is the same thing that happened to us once we so-called came out of slavery. It came with the Welfare Act, giving food stamps out, government-funded housing, where they would help pay for the bills. They wanted us to depend on the government, the same way they coming to our brothers in this video clip. They say, we're gonna give you whatever you need. Just get on the land, the reservation that we want you to stay on. Bear with me. All right, Slocky. Israel. Didn't know that you couldn't hear the video, but I'm gonna play it again.
The United States government is offering you a piece of land of your own.
We have our own land.
No, it's not yours. It's the U.S. government's.
Did they buy it?
No.
Did they trade for it?
No, it's not like that.
Then how can they own it? He has a point.
If you accept our offer, you won't have to hunt buffalo anymore or roam the prairie. You can depend on your country to take care of you.
You are not my country.
Senator Crane has come here to offer your people a better way of life.
Better than what?
Better than what you have.
I like what I have.
I understand that. But your people live in the Stone Age. We live at the beginning of a great industrial revolution.
We will give you everything you need if you will just submit to living on a reservation.
We need nothing from you.
If you walk away from here without a deal, you are asking for war.
No. You ask for war.
You must think of your women and children.
I am thinking of them. How can I ask them to give up what they have for this? I have never seen such a dark, filthy place.
Listen to reason. Your people will be slaughtered.
As will yours. Be warned. We Cheyenne are plenty, and my braves are hungry for a good fight. My son had a vision. He will.
The United States.
You see that? That's how prideful they are. To come over and assume, hey, this is our land now. And this is why you got to read the scriptures to understand history truly, to understand exactly who you're dealing with, who your enemy is. Because your enemy knows you and studies you to a T, knows what makes you tick, knows what you like, knows what to sell you, knows how to keep you distracted. But if we ignore history and ignore the signs of the times, hey, our enemy will continue to reign over us, as the scriptures say. You know, so this is why we got to do these type classes to break down strongholds that plague our people and bring us closer together, bringing us into unity. All right. Show you another clip right quick. Now, in the clip we just watched, they said, hey, take this land or we're going to go to war and put you on a reservation. Now, this is the aftermath.
You know, you got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
The Osage, they have the worst land possible. But they outsmarted everybody. The land had oil on it. Black gold. Money flows freely here now.
I do love that money, sir.
This wealth should come to us.
Now, keep in mind, when we were reading that book earlier, it was talking about the Osage, talking about these people, our brothers on this land, how they were studying them, how they prayed every day, the customs, how they lived, how they moved on a day-to-day basis. This is no different. They still studying them and understanding they found oil on their land that they stuck them on a reservation. Now let's see what their mindset is.
Their time is over. It's going to be another tragedy.
When this money started coming, we should have known it came with something else. They're like buzzards circling our people. We're still warriors.
I ought to kill these white men who killed my family. I need you here.
I am right here.
You see that? Dealing with the enemy, sleeping with the enemy, not even realizing that is the enemy. He's the one behind the whole thing.
You've got to take back control of your home.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
See, what about him?
See who's doing it.
Expecting a miracle to make all this go away. You know they don't happen anymore.
So if you get an opportunity to check that movie out, check that out. And going into how Esau, our enemy, was oppressing them, stole their land and stole their resources and put them to death in the process. Just like he's always been doing. All right. So let me go back to this article. not even really an article, but we were talking about how they would lose their identity, lose their land, and that curse would be Deuteronomy 28, 63, and 64, and more. It also states how they would go into slavery, a harsh captivity. All right. Deuteronomy 28, 68. Because we normally speak that about our brothers coming over this way from the west coast of Africa, being shipped over to this side of the world and the other places around the world. But let's read it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, for those who've been in this truth for a minute, you understand what that phrase meant. It was talking about bring us back into slavery again with ships. Now, majority of the time or the history that you find, it'll show you that so-called black man and woman went into slavery on the slave ship. Those are the things that you see documented in museums and whatnot, in history books. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, meaning no man will be able to save you out of that captivity. All right. Through this curse is often applied to the transatlantic slave trade of African Israelites. Native Americans also endured slavery. Many were shipped to Europe and the Caribbean as slaves. Colonists enslaved tribes like the Apache and Pueblo in the Southwest. See that? So they were actually, when you look at the history, they were actually shipped across the sea before we actually were shipped over here. Think about that. If you, like Columbus and Hernan Cortez, they came over here exploring, and what they found, they brought back with them. And then they came back and set up colonies and whatnot, and then brought us over here to help build it up and sustain it. So when you look through the history, our brothers and sisters actually, of Gad and Reuben, or the 10 Northern Kingdom, or the 10 tribes, were actually carried over the water as slaves first, before we actually went into slavery through the slave ship. All right. Let me see. Did I have a video for that? I think I did. Bear with me right quick. Let me put this on the screen. All right. Now, one of the things that they did to us, you know what? I'm gonna go to number 4 on this list. Where is it? Too much clicking. Too much clicking. All right, number 4, it says that we would be having suffering of children and families, according to the curse of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32 and 41. It said, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them. All right. Native American children were forcibly removed from families and placed in boarding schools to erase their culture. To erase their culture, their history, their heritage. Understand that. Generations were stripped of their language and heritage. This is a clear fulfillment of these verses. All right. Let me show you what I mean. And this is where it boils down to us doing a little research.
In the United States Midwest, a harrowing search is underway to locate the graves of Native American children taken from their tribes and sent to boarding schools. In the United States Midwest, a harrowing search is underway to locate the graves of Native American children taken from their tribes and sent to boarding schools.
These were not schools. It was a prison camp.
From as far back as I can remember, I've heard this story. You know, my mom would say she's still lost somewhere.
The recent discovery in Canada of more than 1,000 graves at former boarding schools exposed the state-sanctioned abuse of Indigenous children. The blueprint for these schools came from across the border in the United States. Now, Native American tribes in the US are demanding justice for the forced removal of their children, and a bigger, untold story is emerging.
You see that? They were going through the same oppression that we as a nation of people were going through. Their children, family members were being snatched away from them, forced to go work in other places, forced to go to these boarding schools. Now they got history popping up where they demand injustice just like we demand injustice or reparations for the things that were committed, for the wicked acts that were committed against our brothers and sisters. Thousands of graves in front, behind, and on the side of these schools. And it's not just the schools that were in Canada, but all over the United States.
A landmark federal government report now estimates tens of thousands of Indigenous children could have died at US institutions.
I don't like calling these things grave sites or cemeteries. I don't call them that. I call them crime scenes. That's what I call them.
In this report, foreign correspondent gains exclusive access to one community as it begins a journey to uncover the truth.
Heichi, Teichi, Wakata, Kuria, Ihadu homini.
On a cold winter's morning, these Native American children are having a lesson in language.
Okay, that's your format. Are you ready? Here we go. Sapa black AIP.
Sapa black AIP.
Shah red AIP.
Shah red AIP.
The language is literally the heart and soul of our people. It holds our identity, and it holds our practices, our beliefs, our philosophies, our worldviews, all inside the language. So our existence is directly tied to it.
There was the we.
Red Wing Thomas is one of a few who can speak Dakota, his tribe's language.
Practice this word with me. Say, Emakiapi. Try it again. Emakiapi.
Less than 5% of my people, we don't know our language. We are on the verge of reclaiming it, but it's an uphill walk, you know, and we have a long way to go. It took generations to wipe the language out. It's going to take generations to restore it.
You see that? That's the same thing that we went through as a people. We're going through the same thing. Losing our ability to actually communicate in our native tongue, which was Hebrew. Which is Hebrew. Understand that. The same way it was wiped away from us, it was wiped away from them. Stolen, stripped, discontinued, as the scriptures say. And Jeremiah 17 verse 4. We bring it out quite a bit when we teach on the streets. But I'm going to read it right quick. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And it reads, "And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever." You see that? So the Lord stripped us of our heritage, just like they talking about heritage. Generations, it took generations for them to strip our heritage, and it's going to take generations for us to get it back. Just like we striving to learn Hebrew again. You know, they striving to learn their native tongue as well. They stripped it from them by putting us in these boarding schools. All right. I'm going to keep playing the video, though.
She ignored him. He blames the US government's boarding school policy for destroying his people's culture.
As Native people, we've been severed from our language, from our culture, from our practices over a whole course of time. But the boarding school era, in the course of history, did a number on our people where we almost did not recuperate from it.
From 1819 to 1969, hundreds of thousands of indigenous children were taken from their tribes and placed in state and church-run boarding schools across the US. And
you see that? That lines up perfectly with this, the curse. How our children, sons and daughters, will be given into another people. Given into another people.
Its then territories.
You see that?
The school.
I don't know if y'all seen that or not. It said American Indian boarding schools, 408. 408 of these schools where they were stripping us of our heritage, stripping our brothers and sisters of their language, their customs, the commandments, making us to be like them, to be heathens.
The schools, under the guise of education, were a dark experiment in assimilation.
I want y'all to pay attention to what they just said. Under the guise of education. Under the lie. Listen to it again.
The schools, under the guise of education, were a dark experiment in assimilation. The model for the schools was devised by military officer Richard Henry Pratt, an Indian hunter.
Indian hunter. There's so many precepts coming to my mind.
Culture, Pratt believed he could kill the Indian and save the man.
Did you hear it?
Stripping away culture, Pratt believed he could kill the Indian and save the man.
Kill the Indian, save the man. That's a hell of a mindset to have. And that's the mindset that Esau had. That's why the scriptures speak of him and say that his spirit, his soul is not upright in him. Because they have it in their mind that the Indian is a savage because he doesn't live and perform and think like they think. Matter of fact, let me get that right quick. Our minds are not like this, so their job is to basically try to rehabilitate us to be like them. Let me go to Ezekiel chapter 28, 23 and 28. Bear with me right quick. Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 28. For thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will deliver thee into the hand of them whom thou hatest, into the hand of them from whom thy mind is alienated. We don't think like them. We don't move like them. We are a peaceable people. You know, just like we read in 2nd Ezra chapter 13, we are a peaceable people. They, on the other hand, are always thinking about war, conquering, you know, and that was their blessing. But nonetheless, the Lord said he would deliver us into their hand, our enemy's hand, from whom our mind is alienated, meaning we are not the same. We don't think the same. Verse 29, and they shall deal with thee hatefully and shall take away all thy labor, meaning everything that we had worked for. They would take it away. They're going to deal with us hatefully and shall leave thee naked and bare, stripped of everything that we had, And the nakedness of thy whoredoms, meaning our sins, shall be discovered, both thy lewdness and thy whoredoms. This is the only reason why they were allowed to conquer us, because of our whoredoms and rebelliousness. So the Lord delivered us into their hand because of our rebelliousness, and they would deal with us hatefully and have the mindset like that officer had, Pratt, that killed the Indian and saved the man. Basically, take the mind, take the body. That's exactly what they were. I'll show you another clip right quick. So far, I hope and pray that this is answering the brother question or the sister question regarding how do the curses line up with the Native American Indians. All right.
Report is a damning reckoning of America's dark past. The U.S. government acknowledging it intentionally targeted tens of thousands of indigenous children, sending them to boarding schools where they were forced to change their names and punished for speaking their languages.
Forced to change their names and punished for speaking their languages.
A policy the report calls traumatic and violent. The findings announced today by Deb Holland, who is Laguna Pueblo and the first Native American cabinet secretary. Her grandparents were forced to attend the schools.
I am here because my ancestors persevered, and the work we will do with the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative will have a transformational impact on the generations who follow.
The report found the U.S. operated or supported 408 boarding schools in 37 states from 1819 to 1969, the highest concentration in Oklahoma, Arizona, and New Mexico. There was rampant physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, disease, malnourishment, overcrowding, and a lack of health care.
You see that? Sexual, emotional abuse, disease, malnutrition, meaning they weren't feeding them, overcrowding, and lack of health care. So they were snatching our brothers and sisters up from their homesteads, from their reservations, jamming them and slamming them in these boarding schools. You might as well call them prisons, because the prison is the same setup as the schools that our kids attend today. Same setup, but they were physically, sexually, and emotionally abusing them, spreading disease, refusing to feed them, giving them improper or lack thereof when it came down to healthcare. These are the things that we as a people continue to deal with today. This is how you understand and know that the Native Americans are our brothers as well. They are the Northern Kingdom. They are Israelites as well. These are just a few things that we're going over.
Children who broke the rules were disciplined with corporal punishment, such as solitary confinement, flogging, withholding food, whipping, slapping, and cuffing. The investigation has already determined hundreds of children died, but that number is expected to exponentially rise as more schools are studied. At least 53 burial sites have been found, some marked, some unmarked.
Our children deserve to be brought home.
You gotta admit that it happened.
Last year,
You see that? I'm going to read something to you out of the book of 2 Maccabees, out of the Apocrypha. All right. This is going into what we read or seen in this video clip, how the United States was intentionally forcing these kids to assimilate, to discontinue from their heritage, to even speak their own language. And as the scripture state, it's nothing new under the sun. Where it has been shall be, paraphrasing. But this is something that has happened in times of old. And I'm going to read that to you. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse, I'll start at 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighboring cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen this present misery. So this is the same thing going on right here. Laws were put in place forcing our brothers and sisters to go to these boarding schools, trying to get them to forget about who they were, trying to get them to forsake their ways, forsake their custom, their heritage, to do what? Assimilate, to become like the heathen, like the Gentile. And for those who would not, they would be put to death. Why do you think there's so many burial grounds at all of these schools? A lot of those kids were not willing to assimilate. They were not willing to follow the ways of the Gentile, so they were put to death. Brothers and sisters, everything that we bring it out today is biblical. There's no such thing as that, or that was back in the biblical days or the Bible times. No, the Bible is ongoing. It's consistently lining up with the scriptures day in and day out. This is why we must read. This is why we must study to understand what's truly going on. And we must do research as we're doing right now. I'm gonna let you listen to this man speak. Listen close to what he say, though.
That it happened.
Last year, I met Fred Kiogma, who was sent to Holy Childhood of Jesus boarding school in Harbor Springs, Michigan. The memories still haunt him, getting locked in a freezing closet, once forced to eat another child's vomit.
He was locked in a closet at this Christian school where they teaching white Jesus, forced to eat another child's vomit.
You've been able to heal.
I don't know if I've been able to heal.
Holy Childhood never responded to NBC News' multiple requests for comment.
I think.
You see that? And this is why a lot of our people hate that name, because they have turned it into a mockery. They have made it seem as something evil. They've changed the image. They've crucified his name and everything that he stood for. Yahushua. You see the name of that school? Holy Childhood of Jesus School. I'm going to see if I can read that right quick. It said, this Indian school was funded in 1829 by Father Pierre Dijon, who came here with two teachers, Miss Elizabeth Williams and Joseph, I can't read the last name. The Indians built a church and the first school building. And I can't read that. It hewn the structure. School was both a boarding and day school with 25 boarders and its initial enrollment of 63 Indian boys and girls who were taught in French the 3 vocational skills. That's all I can read on that. But this was another nation bringing white Jesus, teaching them to speak their language and to learn their ways by forcing them to do so in an evil manner.
I think it's actually way overdue.
Today, Fred told me the report is a good first step.
It now can put to rest a lot of the people that came up missing, that went to school and never came home.
But there's been no formal apology from the U.S. government. The investigation will continue, trying to piece together the total number of students who attended the schools. And
you're not going to get an apology from them. And even if they did, what good is it going to do? All it's going to do is just acknowledge that they did it. They'll do that. And then what? They've acknowledged that they poisoned us through the Tuskegee experiments. That didn't change anything. We still lining up to vote for them. We still loving and trusting in them more than we love and trust ourselves. So just getting them to admit it, that's not going to change anything. Only thing it'll do possibly is get our people to understand that they are evil as hell. You know?
Identifying the remains found at burial sites. Tonight, many questions remain unanswered. Antonia Hilton, NBC News.
You see that? These are the things that we gotta pay attention to and understand. A lot of our brothers and sisters, we brainwashed. We have a thick hatred toward our brothers. Don't even understand why. But that's written in the scriptures as well. That's part of the curses. Let me show you that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. The Mexicans them ain't our brothers and sisters. Nah. The Native American, nah, that ain't our people. Why you can't believe it? Because you believe in your mind that they didn't go through the same thing, but the scriptures say that they did. And because of the way that you view them, not even knowing the facts, shows the level of hatred that we have toward one another. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 54. We bring this out quite a bit. This is a common precept. This is one of the curses. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother and toward the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead. So once upon a time, our brothers and sisters used to have real love toward one another. We actually did care. And it didn't have to be transactional. This person didn't have to do something for you in order for you to vibe with them, for you to like them, or to treat them kindly. It was just because we knew who we were as a people and we had love because it was commanded of us to do so. But nowadays, there's so much hatred, it's unreal. We kill each other more than any other nation killers. You know, we fight each other and won't lift a hand or a finger to fight against the other nations. You know, that's how we know that everything is out of order. I had another video. What did I do with it? But I'll skip that and I'll go, let me see. Don't need that. Don't need that. All right. Now, back in the day, in the 60s, one of the things that we had going on because of the level of oppression was the Black Panther movement. Everybody's familiar with it. You know, you had the Fred Hampton, Huey Newton. You had the Civil Rights Movement. All of these things going on. Martin Luther King doing his thing. You know, we were doing all of these things trying to fight against oppression. At the same time, what we don't understand sometimes or we don't realize is the fact that we as a people, the so-called black man, we had a movement, the Black Panther going on. The Latinos, they had the Brown Berets going on. And the Native American Indians, they had a movement going on at the same time called the American Indian Movement, or AIM. All right. Let me see. The American Indian Movement. All right. Let's go back and read a little history on it. It said the American Indian Movement, AIM, is a movement which was founded in Minnesota in 1968. All right. It was initially centered in urban areas in order to address systemic issues of poverty, discrimination, and police brutality against American Indians. You see that? They were going through the same thing that we were going through, still going through. AIM soon widened its focus from urban issues to many indigenous tribal issues that American Indian groups have faced due to settler colonialism in the Americas. These issues have included treaty rights, high rates of unemployment, the lack of American Indian subjects in education, preservation of indigenous cultures. All right. So one thing that I wanted to bring up about this was the fact that we as a people, all right, let me go to Genesis chapter 49 right quick. Now, AIM and the Brown Berets, they did not get started until we got started. Southern Kingdom. All right, let me go to Genesis chapter 49. It's a reason behind these. Go to that right quick. Genesis 49 and start at 8. Said, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise, meaning the Northern Kingdom brothers, Hispanics and Native American. It said they will watch us and praise the things that we would do and act behind it. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Meaning these other nations, or not other nations, the other tribes will bow down, and not really bow down, but get behind us when we putting in this work, pushing this movement for justice for our people. They will get behind it and follow the movement. All right. Yeah, that was a good precept that the sister brought out. Going into the prayer bazaar, how the Lord did deliver us into the hands of a lawless enemy, the most hateful forsakers of God, to an unjust king and the most wicked in all the world. That's exactly what happened to us as a family, as a nation. We were delivered into the hand of our enemy, who did not abide by the laws of the Most High God, who did his own thing, still doing his own thing today. The most hateful enemy to God, an unjust king. But I'm showing you in Genesis 49:8, how Judah, or Southern Kingdom, would stand up and his brethren would see that, be amazed at that, and would follow behind it. All right. Going back to the American Indian movement, it was founded for the same purposes that the Black Panther or the Brown Beret movement was founded. Take care of his people, to help fight against issues that were plaguing us as a people. All right. Now, how long did it last and what happened? The American Indian movement disbanded at the national level in 1978 due to internal conflicts, the imprisonment of leaders, and government efforts to infiltrate the group. Is this not the same thing that happened to the Black Panther movement? The same exact thing happened. Internal conflict, jealousy. That goes back to that curse we were talking about in Deuteronomy 28:54. The imprisonment of the leaders. You take out the head, the body will fall. And government efforts to infiltrate the group, just like that movie, The Black Messiah, that they had, that came out a while back, where they used a brother to infiltrate the group to find out how everything operated and where the leaders were staying at. Used him to take the organization down. The same way they used Judas in the scriptures to capture Christ or have him taken. It's nothing new under the sun, brothers and sisters. Nothing new under the sun. All right. So, like I was saying, we have a divide due to the curses. But I'm going to show you something else in the scriptures. Let's go to Matthew right quick. No, John chapter 4. I'm going to show you that it was a divide between the two kingdoms, which has carried on even to this day, which is why we look at our brothers and sisters sideways. All right, let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1. John chapter 4, verse 1. Wherefore, when therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Yahushua made and baptized more disciples than John, though Yahushua himself baptized not, but his disciples did it, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Samaria is the land where Ephraim actually was ruling over. Ephraim was the head tribe of Northern Kingdom. All right. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. All right. Now Jacob's well was there. Yahushua, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahweh said unto her, give me drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Why do you think that is? Why did they have a separation? Why did the Jews, which were southern kingdom, not deal with the Samaritans who were northern kingdom? Why is that? Let's go to Hosea right quick. Let's go to, where is I done lost my spot. Hosea chapter 4. Why is it that the woman of Samaria that was at the well, why is it that she said, hey, the Jews ain't got no dealings with us? All right. Let me find it right quick. Yeah, I start at verse 15. Hosea chapter 4, verse 15. Though thou, Israel, play the harlot, yet not Salaki. Hosea chapter 4, verse 15. Though thou, Israel, play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, neither swear the Lord liveth. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. So the Lord told us to lead Ephraim, northern kingdom, lead them alone because they have indulged in a lot of idols. So this is why we had to leave Ephraim alone. And that's why it was a separation or a divide when Christ met the woman at the well in Samaria. And she made a statement saying, why a Jew like you trying to deal with a Samaritan like me? You know? And we let you know earlier that Ephraim was the head of Samaria. Let me go get that in Isaiah chapter 7. Just to show you that as well. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 8. And it reads, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years, meaning 65 years, shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remeliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established. So letting you know that Ephraim is the head of Samaria. They were the ones in charge. They were the ones ruling. All right. So where were we? Talking about the AIM movement, what it was set up for. That's not it. Let me go back to this article right quick. We almost done, Israel. Bear with me. I got to pull that article up too. Give me 1 second. That ain't it. All right. Verse 5, it was talking about economic oppression. It said, thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, 29 and 43 through 44, that we would be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. The stranger shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Showing you and explaining to us how we and the so-called Native American would come down low and our oppressor would rise up and be ruling over us. It says right here, on most reservations, most Americans suffer extreme poverty, high unemployment, and lack of access to resources, while non-native businessmen often profit from their lands. Talking about casinos, land leasing, and oil extraction, as what we've seen in that movie clip, the Killers of the Flower Moon. So even though they forced our brothers and sisters to live on these reservations, they were not profiting from it. Matter of fact, everybody else is profiting. Just like we don't own any land here. All right. And it was talking about how they deal with a lot of extreme poverty, unemployment. Another thing that they deal with a lot of is alcoholism. I couldn't find an article, but one of the main things that they have an issue with is alcoholism. And outside or on their reservation, they have laws put in place where they cannot have alcohol on the reservation. Let's see. Let me see. Well. All right. It says alcohol consumption and sales are often restricted or prohibited on Indian reservations due to historical and ongoing concerns about public health and safety. While federal law previously banned alcohol, many tribes now have the authority to establish their own alcohol policies, with some choosing to maintain restrictions or even outright bans. So one of the things that they have an issue with is alcohol. And you would think if the land prohibits or bans alcohol sale on the land, how is it that the people have a problem with alcoholism? But the thing is, let me see. What's actually going on is the same thing that is happening in our neighborhoods today, which is our people where they have alcohol, I say spirit shops, liquor stores on every corner in our neighborhoods, just like they got gun shops on every corner. They want us to kill ourselves. So with the Indian reservations not having the right to have the alcohol on the premises or on a reservation, what Esau will naturally do is set up a liquor store right on the border of the reservation. So the people of that reservation will drive or walk or ride a bike to get to their store and sit outside their store and drink themselves to death. All right, let me see. See if I can find a video. There are, if you know anything about how alcohol sales are in different states, they'll have what they call dry states or dry counties where they don't sell it in certain counties. So you have to drive to other parts of the city or state in order to get alcohol. Let me see if I can put this over. It might explain what I'm trying to say.
Tonight on World Report, a dry Indian reservation consumed by alcoholism, and the white town that exists solely to sell them booze.
In South Dakota's Black Hills is this piece of hallowed ground, where the granite profile of Chief Crazy Horse rises in tribute to the...
I never knew that. But just looking at that, that would make you understand why they got a Mount Rushmore, because they seen us doing it first.
Proud but painful past of the Lakota Nation. Well, now there's a new 21st century battle brewing here. This battle is not nearly so proud as past struggles, but in some ways it is just as painful. It begins at this slight curve in the road, a curve that leads to a fiery conflict centered on the town of White Clay, Nebraska. You see, White Clay is a town with a tiny population of just 22. They have 4 liquor stores.
Wow.
Why? Because White Clay is just a few yards away from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, where, because of an epidemic of alcoholism, booze is banned. To grasp the size of the problem, consider that estimates put the rate of alcoholism in Pine Ridge as high as 80%. A few years ago, of approximately 13,000 crimes committed on the Pine Ridge Reservation, almost 99% of them were somehow connected to alcohol. Indeed.
You see that? That's wicked as hell. Esau know that. Esau does a lot of research and studying. They have these labs up for a reason. They study everything. They know what make everything tick, good and bad and indifferent. So they know that they don't allow alcohol on their reservation, on their land. So they're gonna set up camp right on the outskirts and then sell it to them at a high price, because they know that they'll have to drive miles on top of miles past them to get to the alcohol. So not only are they killing them through the alcohol, but they ripping them off in the process.
It seems the only reason White Clay exists at all is to sell alcohol to Indians.
And then they notice that the crime rate increases dramatically, and all of the crimes are related to the liquor that they selling them. It's no different than the Ku Klux Klan driving up in our neighborhoods or in our cities where we dwell at and leave truckloads of alcohol, drugs, and guns, and then get the hell out of Dodge and go home and watch us kill each other. That's the same thing going on. This is how you understand and know that we are the same people, just of different tribes that have been scattered worldwide, going through the same oppression.
After all, while there are 4 liquor stores, there's no school, no church, no doctor in White Clay.
You see that? They got 4 liquor stores, no school, no church, none of that. But they got liquor.
Alcohol is a product which can be used in a reason, responsibly. It also is a product which unfortunately can be used irresponsibly to harass against.
The people that prey on the weaknesses of others and exploit those weaknesses for profit, that's all they're doing. I think if we, took any random group of 100 people and put them in circumstances on Pine Ridge similar to the ones those people live in, that we would find 10 or 12 of them dead drunk when we went up there and poked around. And it has nothing to do with failings on the part of Indigenous people. It has a lot to do with failings on the part of our society and our government.
Although none would talk on camera, some store owners did talk with us on the phone. But all they'd say was, simply put, we're not doing anything illegal. Leaving the question.
Now, that's just like what Satan would do. His job is to tempt you. Put the temptation in front of you. It's not gonna make you drink the beer or the liquor or smoke the blunt or pop the pill. It's gonna present the opportunity, the temptation. And if you bite on it, then it's gonna consume you and rule over you. That's why they answering the phone and saying, hey, we ain't did nothing. We're not making them drink it. Yeah, we setting up shop knowing that they will. But their job is to tempt us. That's what devil is, deceiver, the tempter.
Of their own moral culpability to others. Some on the reservation, although they want the drinking to stop, agree with them.
If my people here cannot stop drinking, they have to learn to control it.
It's my own opinion that why they drink is they want to do something for their family, their children. They want to have good homes, everything, but their hands are tied.
Which leaves today's youngest generation of Native Americans pretty much on its own to figure out how to become strong, sober, proud Indians, like the one being chiseled from the granite so close to their ancestral home.
All right. Lord willing, that show. But you know, that's just a few of the curses that we went through. You got the illnesses and the plagues that came from the Indian. I mean, not from the Indian, but from the Europeans, such as smallpox that wiped out a lot of our brothers and sisters. You know, a lot of the different curses or plagues that are in the scriptures plague us as a people. Let me see. Let's see if I can put this back on the screen just to blow through it right quick. All right, you got the illnesses and the plagues. The Lord, Deuteronomy 28, 21, and 22. The Lord shall smite or make the pestilence cleave unto thee with the botch of Egypt and with emerods and with the scab. So, like I was talking about, they had various diseases that were brought by the Europeans and wiped a lot of them out. All right. Number 7, it says, fear, mourning, and psychological trauma from Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 65 through 67. And among these nations shall thou find no ease, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. All right, and it goes to say that because of these curses, generational trauma, high suicide rates, depression, and substance abuse are tragic markers of ongoing suffering in many Native communities, aligning with the mental afflictions described, which is true, mainly dealing with that alcoholism. Start having those suicidal thoughts, all right? But at the end of the day, in conclusion, the curses of Deuteronomy 28 were not just spiritual, but generational and cultural. All right. When examined alongside the history of the Native American people, specifically their removal, oppression, slavery, cultural erasure, and continual poverty, a striking similarity to the biblical curses emerges. For many, these parallels are more than coincidental. They are prophetic identifiers revealing the true identity of the Native Americans as part of the lost tribes of Israel. All right. Specifically, many believe they represent the tribe of Gad as described in Genesis 49:19, a warlike nomadic people with a strong warrior spirit. When you read Genesis 49:19, it says, Gad is a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at last. And yes, that's going to happen, but it starts with us gathering ourselves together. And that's according to Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. The Lord commands us as a people to gather ourselves together, to unify. All right. But we're going to go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, right quick. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. We're going to start at verse 15. And it reads, the word, it ain't even on the screen. All right. It reads, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take one stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel and his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. What is that talking about? The one thing that a lot of our people despise today, which is why this thing showing over there, which goes into that 12 chart sign that a lot of our brothers and sisters despise. Showing you who is who in these last days. All right. The 12 tribes that are scattered worldwide, according to James 1 and 1. And most of the time when you see us teaching, we had a sign similar to this, not as animated, but this is a sign that says who is who. And this is what the scripture was talking about when it was talking about put those sticks together. All right. Let me go back, if possible. All right. So it said, and join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. Read on. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? What does this sign mean? What do these sticks mean? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, meaning one nation, and they shall be one in my hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before thine eyes. So you will see this. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. This is talking about that so-called rapture. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, northern and southern kingdom, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgression, but I will save them out of their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And David, my servant, shall be king over them. And they shall have one shepherd, meaning one leader. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. See that? Reading on, it says, verse 25, and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell there again, therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord. I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Amen. So, brothers and sisters, understand just by the facts, the little research that we did, because it's a lot more that we can go into and bring out. But we brought out just a few, to show you how the curses apply to so-called Native American Indians. The curses of Deuteronomy 28 align perfectly with our brothers, the tribe of Gad and Reuben, so-called Native American Indians. All right. But nonetheless, understand this. We must unite as a people. We have to get rid of the hate, the vexation of spirit that we have toward one another. We must come together. We must come back under the banner of serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, keeping the commandments, having faith in him, doing the things that are needed. But until then, we got to open up the word of the Most High, build our spirits up. We got to study. We got to love our brothers and sisters again, you know. So I pray and hope that you brothers and sisters learn something and you understand how these curses apply to our brothers and sisters. You still got questions, doubts, reach out, ask more questions in the comment section. But nonetheless, I appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in as always. I'm Brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And we appreciate you watching as always. Like, comment if you have any. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. But on another note, we pray, hope for your well-being and for the uplifting of our nation, the restoration of our nation. But on that note, we love you. Happy Sabbath to you. We say shalom, shalom, peace and grease to you all, and we out.